This may be where ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is hiding, but probably wishes he wasn't. Russian and Syrian regime airstrikes pound ISIS's remnants in the city of Deir ez-Zor, but they aren't alone in the skies or on the ground here. Banking hard and keeping out of the Russians' way are US jets, assisting these US-backed Kurdish fighters to take the nearby countryside from ISIS just the day before. ISIS are collapsing and leaving in their wake an almost Cold War standoff. Well, ISIS may be holding out in a pocket of the town of Deir ez-Zor behind me over there, surrounded by the Syrian regime, but they've been kicked out too of this area by American-backed Kurdish SDF forces. Now, they've advanced to this river here, which puts them literally meters away from the Syrian regime, who are backed by Russian air power. We're told, in fact, these Kurdish American-backed forces have held face-to-face meetings with Russian military officials to be sure they don't clash around here. Now, in the endgame against ISIS, Moscow and Washington's forces literally meters away from each other. The Kurds are so relaxed with their new neighbours that fishing is this afternoon's task, with hand grenades. "5 years in, and Syria is ground to dust. And this is what they're still fighting over. It's unclear who is left inside Deir ez-Zor, but those who fled, estimated recently at 10,000 a day, dot the skyline. They tried to filter them, but last week a suicide bomber struck, and yesterday they found 30 ISIS fighters. They're followed around by the horror of what they fled, but also by suspicion. The simple question: are the last to flee the most loyal to ISIS, or just the least fortunate? "We saw everything in my village," she says. "Airstrikes, children and elderly dying. My relative just last week. The children couldn't stop crying from fear. I could only stand there. What could I do? I don't know if our home is still standing, or even who's bombing us." Yusuf is 10 and doesn't have any superhero powers here, just dust and bad dreams. "When I'd hear the shelling," he says, "I'd hide in the ground. The hardest part about living in the desert is I'm not at home." The stream is endless, like the bombing they flee and this war, which keeps finding new chapters and adversaries around them. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, near Deir ez-Zor, Syria.